What if I told you that during an electrical storm, security cameras captured something that never appeared in any official report? A sphere of light hovering between the clouds, not moving, even with violent winds. Why has no one talked about it until now? This account was sent to our channel by someone who asked to remain anonymous. The experience you're about to hear happened on a regular day, but what the security cameras at the mall captured completely changed this person's perception of what might be hiding right above our heads. It was a typical late afternoon. The sky was starting to darken, and the first drops of the storm were already hitting the mall windows. Lightning streaked across the sky, followed by deafening thunder. The surveillance cameras were on, as always, capturing every angle of the empty parking lot. But at a certain moment, something caught the security operator's attention. On the monitor, between flashes of lightning, a peculiar light appeared. Not a bolt of lightning, but a glowing sphere, stationary between the clouds, motionless. Even with the strong winds shaking trees and signs, that sphere didn't move. It hovered there, as if defying the laws of physics. The operator rubbed his eyes, thinking it was some sort of storm reflection. But the sphere remained, pulsating softly, emitting an almost hypnotic glow. On impulse, he called his colleague, who was instantly stunned by what he was seeing. "Are you seeing this too?" he asked, his voice trembling. The two watched in silence as the sphere remained still for endless minutes. At one point, a bolt of lightning shot across the sky, passing dangerously close to that light. And even then, it didn't budge an inch. It seemed solid, as if anchored in place. When the storm began to subside, the sphere simply vanished. It disappeared without a trace. There was no sound, no movement, no final flash. It was as if it had never been there. But the footage was there, captured by several cameras at the same time. What intrigued the operator the most was what happened next. The next day, he tried to access the recordings, but the files were corrupted. All footage from that night simply didn't exist anymore. He asked the head of security, but the response was vague. Technical issue. Nothing serious. But he knew there was more. Something they didn't want him to see again. Stay tuned to our channel so you don't miss the next reports, which, for reasons of national security, could be deleted at any moment. That night, the security operator couldn't sleep. He closed his eyes and replayed the scene over and over. The sphere of light hovering among the clouds, the lightning cutting through the sky around it, but never striking it. It was as if that object was there for a reason, watching, waiting. The next day, he decided to talk to other mall employees. Maybe someone else had seen what he saw. However, everyone seemed oblivious to the incident. Most were focused on repairing the storm damage, broken roofs, fallen signs, cracked windows. No one even mentioned the light. That's when he found Jonas, one of the technicians responsible for the camera system. Jonas was quieter than usual, staring intently at the computer screen as he reviewed the recording files. The operator approached and tried to strike up a conversation. "Did you see that light last night? That sphere that appeared in the sky?" he asked, trying not to sound paranoid. Jonas looked away from the screen for a moment, but didn't respond immediately. He just took a deep breath and motioned for the operator to follow him to the server room, a restricted area where the recording equipment was kept. Once he shut the door, Jonas finally spoke in a low, urgent tone. "I saw it. I recorded it. But now all the files from that night are corrupted. Every single one." A chill ran down the operator's spine. "What do you mean? That can't be a coincidence." Jonas nodded, his eyes uneasy. "That's exactly what I told the boss. And you know what he did? Told me to keep my mouth shut. Said I was losing it because of the storm. But I know what I saw. And you saw it too." The operator remained silent, trying to process the situation. It didn't make sense. The files just disappearing without explanation? And why would the boss tell Jonas to keep quiet? Unless someone wanted it to be forgotten. Before he could ask anything else, the door to the room swung open abruptly. It was the head of security. He looked at both of them, eyes fixed, cold. "What are you two doing here?" Jonas stammered, trying to come up with an excuse, but the boss cut him off. "I already told you the system has a technical issue. There's no point in trying to recover anything. Now get back to work." The operator left the room with his heart racing. He knew there was something very wrong with that story. And at that moment, he had the unsettling feeling that he was being watched. As he walked down the mall corridor, he glanced up at the security cameras mounted on the ceiling. They seemed to be pointing directly at him, as if they were following him. He quickly looked away and quickened his pace, feeling the hairs on his arms stand up. That sphere of light never left his mind. And the feeling of being watched, ever since that night, never went away. Stay tuned to our channel so you don't miss the next reports, which, for reasons of national security, could be deleted at any moment. Days passed, but the feeling of being watched only got worse. The security operator started noticing strange things around the mall. First, it was the men in suits, 3 tall guys, pale-skinned, always wandering the corridors without any apparent purpose. They didn't seem like shoppers or employees. They didn't talk to anyone, didn't carry bags. They just walked slowly, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, even indoors. One day, while monitoring the cameras, the operator noticed something alarming. One of the men in suits was standing right in the center of the parking lot, exactly where the sphere of light had appeared during the storm. He was staring at the sky, completely still, as if waiting for something. The rain poured down, but the man didn't move an inch. The operator zoomed in, trying to get a better look at his face, but the system started to glitch. The screen flickered, distorting the image. When it finally stabilized, the man was gone, as if he had vanished. That left the operator rattled. He decided he had to do something. He needed to tell someone what was happening. But who would believe him? Then he remembered Jonas, the camera technician. They hadn't spoken since that last meeting in the server room. The operator went to Jonas's office, but it was empty. The desk was clean. The equipment was off. Jonas was nowhere to be found. He asked the other employees, but they all said the same thing. Jonas quit yesterday. Left without telling anyone. That's when the operator realized he was alone in this. Somehow, those men in suits knew he had seen the sphere of light. They were watching his every move, every word. And now, Jonas had vanished without a trace. That night, after his shift, he walked quickly to his car, eyes scanning the parking lot for anything unusual. The rain started falling again, and the sound of thunder echoed through the empty space. He got into his car, locked the doors, and started the engine. But before driving off, he noticed something in the rearview mirror. Just a few meters away, in the far corner of the parking lot, one of the men in suits was standing there. He wasn't moving, just staring at the operator, his sunglasses reflecting the streetlight. The operator looked away, taking a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. When he looked back, the man was gone. He had disappeared into the rain, without leaving a single trace. The operator put the car in reverse, sped out of the parking lot, and drove home with his hands shaking on the wheel. The entire drive, he felt like he was being followed. Headlights would appear in the rearview mirror, and then vanish suddenly, as if someone was tailing him and trying to stay out of sight. When he finally got home, he locked all the doors and windows. But the nightmare wasn't over. In the middle of the night, he woke up to a low, steady sound. It was the intercom ringing. He got up, went to the living room, and picked up the receiver with a trembling hand. "Hello." On the other end, only silence. An eerie silence that stretched on forever. Then a cold, emotionless voice whispered, "You saw more than you should. Erase it from your mind." The line went dead, and the operator stood there in the dark, heart pounding, trying to grasp how far this would go. The following days were a blur. The security operator could barely sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the image of that sphere of light appeared before him, floating among the clouds, motionless, indifferent to the chaos of the storm. But what haunted him the most was the cold voice on the intercom. The veiled threat echoed in his mind over and over. "You saw more than you should." He tried to talk to the police, but there was no concrete evidence. The recording files were corrupted, Jonas had vanished, and the men in suits were just a vague memory with no solid proof. When he mentioned the sphere of light, the officers just exchanged tired looks, as if they had heard stories like this before, and dismissed them all as delusions. With no options left, the operator decided he needed to leave town. He packed his things in a hurry, threw some clothes into a backpack, and planned to leave that very night. But before going, he decided to take one last look at the mall's security cameras. He wanted to confirm if the men in suits were still there. The monitoring room was empty. He turned on the monitors and started reviewing the live footage. The corridors were deserted, the stores closed, the parking lot empty. But then he saw it. In the exact spot where the sphere had appeared, the three men in suits stood side by side. They were all staring up at the sky, as if waiting for something to happen again. Their faces were expressionless, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. The rain poured down, but they didn't move. The operator zoomed in, trying to capture some detail. That's when one of them slowly turned his head, looking directly at the camera. It was as if he knew he was being watched. Then, all the monitors began to glitch. The screen flickered, distorted, until everything went completely black. In the silence of the room, only the sound of rain hitting the windows. The operator got up, heart pounding, and ran to the parking lot. He needed to get out of there immediately. But when he reached his car, he stopped abruptly. The three men in suits were there, standing just a few meters away. The rain streamed down their blank faces. Their sunglasses reflected only emptiness. "You weren't supposed to see anything," one of them said without moving his lips. The voice seemed to echo directly in the operator's mind, cold, emotionless. He took a step back, eyes wide, but before he could react, a blinding flash lit up the entire parking lot. For a brief moment, the same sphere of light appeared above them, pulsing like an alien heart. And then, everything went dark. The operator woke up hours later, lying on the ground in the parking lot, completely alone. The men were gone. The sphere of light was no longer there. And he couldn't remember anything that happened after the flash. As he tried to stand up, he felt a sharp pain at the back of his neck. With a trembling hand, he touched the skin and found a small, circular scar. Something that wasn't there before. Something that shouldn't be there. Since then, he lives in constant alert, waiting for the men in suits to return. Waiting for the sphere of light to reappear. And every night, before going to sleep, he turns off all the lights, closes the curtains, and makes sure there's no one watching him. But deep down, he knows he's being watched. He knows that somewhere those cameras are still recording, and someone is watching.